Hey everyone, I hope that you all had a really wonderful Thanksgiving. I'm really grateful for all of you here on this platform, and I especially want to give a thank you to Robert M. Sorry to use your last initial there, but there's a few Roberts that support the channel, so I wanted to make sure that, Robert M., you get some credit because I really appreciated your incredibly generous donation. I'm a stay-at-home wife. I'm trying to start a family, trying to finish a book, and my husband works in the automotive industry, and it's a little light right now during the holiday season. So I truly appreciated your really generous gift, and I just wanted to say thank you so much. Right off the top of the video. So getting those pleasantries out of the way, I think we have some really heavy things to talk about. And I thought this would be a good way. We all know the YouTube purge is coming. It might be happening tomorrow. So I don't know how long I'm going to have this platform. And I've been so grateful for all of you here for continuing this discussion, continuing this conversation. And so I thought, if this is going to be my last video, let's go out on something that is incredibly important to me, which is free speech. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I am a free speech absolutist. That's been from day one. If I'll put my original walkaway video up somewhere in one of these squares in a corner, but if you've seen that video, you know that I've always been an advocate for free speech, even when I was on the left, even when I, considered myself a social justice warrior. I always felt like if I have the right to advocate for, at the time it was gay rights, abortion, social justice, that if I have the right to do that, then other people have the right to advocate for the exact opposite of those things. Of course, my views on all of those things have changed over the last few years, and I've made other videos about that, so I won't get into it. But so you guys know that free speech has always been really important to me, and I've always believed that everyone has a right to free speech, whether I agree with you or not. One of the things I always say is, we all have a right to be assholes, So that's why the first part of this video, I want to talk about two different things that are going on right now on social media, and I'm going to do my best to be as short and sweet as possible. But the first thing I noticed, and this has been in the last couple weeks, has been I've noticed a lot of people that identify as conservatives and independents and libertarians that are coming out against what some people would call hate speech. And far be it from me to, as someone who is relatively new to conservatism, I've only really identified as as a conservative the last maybe couple years. I would never dictate to other people what conservatism is, but it was my understanding as I guess a noob to it, is that the Constitution is first and foremost the most important document, and our Bill of Rights. And right there at the top is the First Amendment. So I've been very disheartened and disappointed the past few weeks seeing all of these people that say that they're conservatives, say they're independents, say that they believe in the Constitution, coming out against others that they are labeling as racists and bigots and anti-Semites and homophobes. And it just doesn't make sense to me as someone, I guess, who's kind of new to this whole thing. Maybe if you feel that way, you can leave a comment and let me know your position, but I don't get it. Especially when we're in an age right now where I think all of us can agree that people are getting mislabeled as, racists, Nazis, bigots, homophobes every day. I've been called a Nazi. I'm very openly mixed race. I have a black stepfather that has raised me since I was 10. My little brother is black. And yet I get called a Nazi fairly regularly on social media. So it surprises me that there's so many people out there that know that see that I've also, people that get called bigots because they want to support traditional marriage, or, they don't support a drag queen story hour. We're getting called bigots and homophobes. And so, if you already see that the label gets overused, I don't get conservatives that are using it to label other conservatives. This whole like cancel culture that's now invading the right. Different mainstream conservatives that are demanding that other mainstream conservatives disavow people. It just doesn't make sense to me. I find it really confusing and disappointing. This all kind of started with the America First movement. It is, full disclosure, it's something that I'm part of. It's something I believe in. It's the idea of, as it says, putting America first, reevaluating our foreign relationships, reevaluating our foreign aid. It's as a whole, it's for the most part of limiting all immigration. I go a step further. I would like an immigration moratorium for at least 10 to 20 years. But, I've talked before in past videos about demographic changes and what that'll mean to our country. So you guys know how I feel about that. But so that's kind of where I stand on that. And I've also talked before about, as someone who doesn't really identify with any particular race, I look at race realism from sort of an outsider analytical perspective. And so I'm seeing, people who call out differences in demographics, statistical, factual differences in races, just pointing out facts seems to get you labeled a racist now, because, some of these facts aren't convenient to a, diversity is our strength kind of narrative. So it bothers me that people who identify as patriots are calling out other people who identify as patriots. But so that's kind of where and I don't want to bog too much down. I don't want to make this a really long video, but it really comes down to, people who want to put America first, and this whole like a diverse group of people that do that, and they have different views on how to do it, but we all sort of, converge around the idea of loving our country and of wanting to retain our American identity. And there are some more extreme people, more fringe, more far-right people that are part of that, umbrella term. And the rest of us that aren't, I guess, as extreme are defending the rights of everyone to have an opinion. I may not agree with everything that someone like Nick Fuentes or Patrick Casey, I may not agree with them on everything, but there are different points that I absolutely agree with them about. And so I think all of us are sort of, focusing on the things that we can come together on, and the things that we differ on, we can sort that out later. The immediate problem is, demographic change and a focus on traditional families, traditional values, morality. So we're all kind of coming together over that. And it's bothersome to me that there are people outside of that movement that claim to support conservative ideas that are now, coming out against that and, calling some of these people Nazis. It's crazy, and I'd really like to hear your thoughts on that. And really quickly, because I don't want to run too long, but kind of piggybacking on that, the other thing I've noticed, and this has just been in the last week, but Matt Walsh recently came out, and I don't agree with him on everything. I think he's kind of part of that mainstream conservative Inc. culture, and he's one of the people who has, labeled other people Nazis and bigots, and unrightfully so. But he's been coming out hard lately against pornography. And I'll admit that up until, maybe a few months ago, I used to think that pornography was free speech and free expression. And I admit that lately I've been having my mind changed on that because of the conversations that we're having on social media. So Matt Walsh recently came out and has been tweeting about banning porn, and it sparked this like huge conversation over on Twitter about whether or not porn is considered free speech. I actually did a poll, and it's still open if you want to vote. I think right now it's like 30% say yes and 31 say yes, 69 say no, or 69. But so look, that just threw me off. I think it's a really fascinating conversation that people are having about whether or not pornography is something that should be bannable online. I definitely think we need better age restrictions, and we really need to limit children's access. The problem and the reason, people who are advocating for a ban is that, even when you have those age restrictions in place, it can still be sometimes impossible to stop children from seeing porn. And if you aren't aware, there are some recent studies that have come out that have shown just how damaging pornography can be, especially to people under 18. So these kids, you think about, people say, what do you care what people do in the privacy of their own home, or, what does it matter? And I think those are people that are thinking of themselves as children, 20, 30 some years ago when you might have been a kid. Really, the only times you would see porn is if you stumbled across it, if you found your dad's stash, or you like for me the first time I ever saw porn, I was walking home from school, and someone had thrown I don't think it was Playboy because it was full on nudity, but someone had thrown out like a dirty magazine onto the side of the road. And I remember the page was open right up to this woman who was like spread eagle, and you could see everything. So that was sort of for many of us, that was like the way that we were introduced to it. And it didn't necessarily mean that we had ready access to it for the rest of our lives. I don't think they're thinking about kids today that can access porn at a level that we've never seen before. And there's all these studies coming out right now about just how damaging that can be to a kid's brain, that it can actually be worse than heroin addiction for some people. So there's this compassion angle of trying to help people who are addicted. There are a lot of men and women out there right now that are addicted to porn. And, in the same way that, an alcoholic gets support for their addiction, I'm disappointed to see that there is so much pushback, and people are outright like making fun of someone for coming out and saying that they're addicted to porn. So this whole thing, oh, mind the dog, sorry guys. There's this whole thing about, is it free speech? Is it free expression? And I don't know. I used to think that it was, but I believe it was actually Matt Walsh who made a really good point that said, if someone were self-pleasuring themselves out in public, is that free speech? No. If a couple is having sex on a open public park bench, is that free speech? No. So it's really made me start to question my own thoughts on porn, and I haven't made like a definitive definitive decision on it yet. I haven't outright said, yeah, let's do a ban, but it's definitely something that I'm looking at and I'm interested in. And I see all of these new statistics and studies coming out talking about just how damaging it is to society. And I agree with that. So, it's like this weird, conflict that goes on in my head, because I do believe in free expression, and I do believe that we all have the right to express ourselves, but do we have the right to put that expression on camera, on video, and put it out to the world where children can access it? I don't know. So I'd really love to get people's thoughts on that. As I said, I've got a poll on Twitter. If you want to go check that out, if you want to vote and comment there, we're having conversations there. If you want to talk about it down in the comments below, I'll do my best to answer as many of you as I can before tomorrow. As a lot of people have been talking about, there is a potential purge that's going to happen. And so if that does happen, I just want to thank all of you for being here. I want to thank you for having these conversations with me. And I am on BitChute. My videos get posted to both platforms right now. If for any reason this channel goes down, I will be exclusively on BitChute, and I'll have a link to that below. I would really appreciate you guys going and giving me a follow there. And yeah, if this is it, guys, I love you all. And even, you know, the people that have disagreed with me, most of you have done so respectfully and constructively. And I've really appreciated the support I've had, especially over the last couple months. Those of you who know I had some health issues, and I just I want to say I appreciate this platform, and I hope I'm still here next week. And if not, if you celebrate, I hope you have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I'll see you guys on BitChute if that's where this you know, this whole show has to go. So take care of everyone and be excellent to each other, and I look forward to hearing from you.